Right, Rob, we're back again. Now, you've managed to clean out some of your equipment, I see.
Yeah.
But we're back at the in the first shed, and we're looking at the rear of the John Deere and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you're sitting on something else a little bit special.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, Rob.
So this is a 1945 Willys Jeep from World War II.
That is that era, is it, Rob?
It is that era, yeah.
Because a lot of them was the Korean type.
Yeah, you had the, and my dad had one when I was little. We used to go off-road in it, but it was the Hotchkiss. That's it. So it was built after the war, but they sort of ironed out some of the problems, and then they bought the rights to it, and then Hotchkiss, the company, started building them, I think, in the 50s, and I think it went up to the 60s, I think. Don't quote me, but yeah, and it was around about then. But yeah, so this is a genuine February 45. History-wise, it was in Greece. It was somewhere down there in Greece towards the end of the war, obviously following the Allies up and whatever else we was occupying at that point down there. Yeah, that's it really. It is an unmolested one because it was so late in the war. It is matching serials numbers, so the engine, the chassis and the body all have the correct serial numbers, so it's never been to pieces, and there is no Ford bits on it. It is just Willys through and through.
Because after when they shipped them out in bits and bobs, didn't they? Literally on a skid unit, didn't they? Really?
Yeah, they came in boxes basically. They were air dropped, or they were just just delivered in boxes, kit form, and used to put all the wheels back onto them. You know, and obviously when this is folded flat, the screen it's quite a small vehicle. Once you take the wheels off, the wheels are put inside, so it came in quite a squat box effectively. Broken open, put together, and off you went.
Fantastic tool though, weren't they?
Yeah, we use it quite
anywhere.
a lot. In the summer, because it's got no roof, it's a beautiful thing to just take out. And the kids jump in the back, and me and Mrs. go off, and we go to a pub or just use it like a car, and it whips along. Does 50 odd mile an hour, sits happily at 45, 50, and you can just.
I suppose it's like me. In my younger days, it's motorbikes, and everything like that. But then you get a bit old, and you still want the wind going through your hair, and you still want to poodle around, don't you?
Yeah, but they're not really built for 6'2" me though. That's the problem, because so my head's a little bit too high, and I'm quite crunched up. It's not bad, don't get me wrong, but you can tell that they were built for smaller people.
So what sort of engine would they have in them?
This is a 2.25 litre petrol. It's just a shade if you want. 2.25 litre petrol 4-cylinder side valve engine, and that's the engine.
Oh, little is that a 6-volt battery there?
Yeah, it's all still on 6-volt electrics. I do like to keep everything original.
Yeah, I love the hooter on the back as well on the side.
Yeah, the klaxon there.
We'll have to hear that sometime this morning.
Well, that one behind you's got the English sounding one. That's the American sounding one.
Really?
But yeah, different types.
No oil leaks though?
No.
So you must have worked on it?
Yeah, it's a good engine. It's beautiful really.
So again, bag of bits, or was it sort of like semi?
No, semi done. Just sort of finished it off really.
Fantastic. Now I'm poking inside. Now they have a funny starting mechanism, don't they?
They do, like a lot of the American stuff. There is no button to activate the. Or button, I suppose, a key on the dashboard to activate the
solenoid.
The solenoid to turn the engine over. You've got a lot of people think that's it there, but it's not. That's a heel rest for the button, which is here, up underneath there. So that's a heel rest, and that's an electrical switch. It just activates the starter motor. But unlike my Chevy Over, we'll see that in a bit. That's got a mechanical button which goes through and pulls the Bendix in and then makes the contact. So a bit different, but same place. Do the same.
I'm just going to focus in on your dashboard. Oh, if the camera will pick it all up.
Now, when it was down in Greece, if you look at the steering wheel, if your camera can pick this up.
Yeah.
Round here, I don't know if you can see it. There's actually that's Greek graffiti.
No.
Yeah, and when you scan it with it's all around here, all around there. So but you've got the funny letters like
Can I ask you to poke the camera at it, please?
Yeah. So you've got the funny letters there, which look like backwards E's and things like that. But it's all been. There's some there as well. Yeah, focusing, and they're people's names.
No.
Yeah,
really?
yeah. If you put the put your camera over it with the translate thing, it'll put it into us being able to read it himself, you know, and they're just people's names. They carved it into the Bakelite.
Fantastic. Now the windscreen, you say it folds down flat. Is it fairly simple job? Is it?
Yeah, you just undo these two buckles here, that one and that one.
Yep.
And it pops down forwards, and that's what these.
Oh, the rubber mounts on the front.
Up here. And then you've got these little hooks here, and you pull that out, and it literally just hooks onto the screen, so the screen can't come back up again.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, if you like flies in your teeth, do it. If you don't, leave it up.
The finish is not sparkling, is it? It's like a matte, what's it, a drab? Is it drab? Olive?
Olive drab's the colour.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's many different colours. They were generally all done in matte back in the day. The problem with matte paintwork is it's porous. It doesn't obviously reflect light, so this is done in satin, as I did the other vehicle in satin.
Yeah. You
get that matte finish to it, but you don't get the problems with the paint being porous and allowing moisture into the into the steelwork.
Well, again, you must be very proud of it. But
yeah, it's a lovely little tool.
As you're standing right next door to it, we move on to the
that my Albion mill.
The mill.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
That's in its original colours, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
In the working clothes.
Yep.
Was it bought local?
This one come down from I think it was not too far from London actually. Friend who buys and sells tractors sent me a picture of look what I've just found kind of thing, you know, pulled it out of the barn, not been seen for years, and I see in the back of the photograph was that. Okay. And I've always been after one. I've got a smaller one, but I've been after a bigger one like that. And he said, "Oh, are you picking that up as well?" And he asked the guy, and he said, "Yeah, he sold it, and I think it's 100 quid I bought that for."
No, really?
Yeah, 100 quid. And then me and my youngest, a couple of years back, stripped it all out, cleaned all the bearings, and reset all the plates in the end for the mill section. Redid, but kept it as it should be.
Yeah.
Cleaned out, got it ready to go. And
it's not in a terrible state, really, is it? I mean, I love you've still got some of the paperwork stuck to it. And you wouldn't want to, to me, I would not remove that because that's part of the
I'm a bit torn with this at the moment because, as you can see, the woodworm has got into it here.
Yep.
So I'm very delicate with it. Really, it needs to be remade because there's all the woodworm in here, but you're going to lose that.
Yeah.
And I've been looking to see if anyone has a copy of this that you could reproduce and put back on there, but nothing as yet. But
can you just spray it with like woodworm stuff, or?
The trouble is, it's already gone. It's too soft. They've eaten away at it, and you don't want that going into the bread or anything like that because we do actually really use that.
Do you?
Yep.
So, that was going to be my next question, Rob. Really, what was it used for? Bread or chicken feed or something?
This was is a roller. It's got a roller mill and it's also got a milling mill in there. So this end makes flour.
Right.
Of whatever you put through it, whether that's corn or wheat. And this is a roller mill for rolling oats. Rolled oats, I mean, you find rolled oats in animal feed, but you'd also find it in things like flapjacks.
Yeah.
They all rolled oats, all glued together with honey and all the rest of the nice stuff you put in it.
Porridge wise? No, not for porridge?
Yeah,
porridge as well.
Anything that you could do, with that. It's really a barn machine, so this would have been, it's not something that would have moved around, not like you see them at the steam rallies where they've got a set of wheels on. They were plonked somewhere, bolted to the floor, because the thing weighs over, it's probably about half a tonne, that.
I can imagine it would be, looking at it. They built things right back in the day, though, didn't they, Rob?
Well, they did, they did, and they built them heavy, but it doesn't, that's why it's still stood here now,
But that's when farms used to have 20 labourers working, not just one man and a huge, great tractor, was it?
No, exactly. So this would have been connected up to line shafting. Could have been in a bakery, could have been in something like that. And I actually know that it's been on line shafting because of the wear in the bearing.
Oh, okay.
So the bearing, instead of being worn down, it was actually worn. If you lift this shaft up, you won't see it on the camera, but if you lift the shaft up, the shaft comes up and backwards like that, which means that has always pulled up to line shafting.
Yeah.
So that's the wear.
Fantastic. Now I can see the little oil cups.
That's it.
With the little bits of
bits of string in there, the wicks. So you literally
it just wicks it up into the bearings, just a slight bit of oil in it, both sides.
So they never turn off.
No.
Obviously, and you fill them up with oil, and if it just sits there, it will just keep on wicking through. But when you go to use it, you go around it, oil it up, just like the steam engine and a lot of the other, the engine over the back there.
Well, they say that, don't they? A little bit of maintenance costs many pounds, doesn't it, really? Because, you grease a bearing up, you ain't got to redo the bushes, the bearings and all that sort of thing. Yeah. Now, Harrison McGregor or something.
It's called an Albion. This one is the fortune number plate's on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah, the manufacturer, and it's an Albion. I think it's a 1B is the model number of it.
Fantastic. Now, what we got up here? Now we got some sort of exhibition up here. Now.
Right. Well, that goes back to my granddad, who we spoke about in the last video, who unfortunately passed away. And that's me and him at my cousin's wedding last year, before he sort of really deteriorated. But he was in the Navy. So yeah, he was in the Navy. That bottom photograph is Gibraltar. He was stationed at Gibraltar and then went off, and he was in Korea, in the Korean War. And the ships there are the ones that he served on: HMS Kenya, Mauritius. He served alongside at the same time as up in London. You got the Belfast.
Okay.
Where he used to go out and his cruisers. I can't remember what all the different ships are, what they're actually, their real names. But he was out there, and the Belfast was out there too, and sister ships doing their stuff where they were in the war. And then he later, top photograph there, which is a HMS Turpin, that's pictured in 1948. Although it's a World War II, 1944 submarine, he went from the ships, and then he specialised and went into the submarines, and he was a submariner.
Thanks. What a great! I want to take a photograph of you two together there and put it on the.
Yeah, he was a bit unsteady on his feet, so he just turned up, and that's where that photograph is. And I just sort of held his hand and helped him walk along to my cousin's wedding back about a year ago now.
Oh mate, you got some great family history in yours. Oh, sorry.
No, it's all right.
I just seen the nameplate for that thing as well on the side.
That's the supplier's plate. That's who sold it. And then the actual plate, the name of it's round on the other side of the hopper. Okay.
If you scan around this barn, you've got loads of little bits and pieces, as we said before. I'm just going to give a quick look over here just before we move on to the final thing. We got, what are these called, Rob?
They're blackout lamps, and they are being that size. They're for a large car or lorry. And during the war, in the early stages of the war, the lights were blacked out. Now you'd only ever had one of those on the car headlamps, and what it allows you to do, get one down. So the light, this was put on the lens of the headlight. So you take the glass out, clamp that in there instead of the glass. The light would then shine through these diffusers. And on the other side, you've got these louvers. Now the louvers mean that if the light is coming out, it's very, very dim, just gives you enough to see. And this was always put on the curb side, so if you was coming up against someone walking or the path, you could just about see.
My God.
And the light would come out, but from the air, if you heard any of the enemy aircraft above, you couldn't see the light coming out of these louvers. That's why they've got these bits over the top.
Fantastic.
Later in the war, when the threat after the Battle of Britain and all the rest of the sort of threats diminished slightly to the later part of the war, you were allowed to put two of those on, so you had both. But in the early part of the war, you had one. Or improvised stuff. People just take the lamps.
Fantastic. So much history. Anyway, let's move on before I'll get carried away and fall on the floor. Now this brings me back to my childhood. Now, what's it called?
It's a Primus stove.
Yep.
It's basically a camping stove, or something you use for that. For cooking on boiling water. Runs on paraffin or kerosene. And the little cup there, you put in methylated spirits, which warms the burner up. And when it gets hot enough, give it a few pumps and turn that off so the air can't come out, and it burns.
I can remember my father always used to take that. We used to go out on family days, out picnics, and he couldn't go anywhere without a cup of tea during the day. So the Primus stove used to, and they're very few and far between now, aren't they?
Yeah, you don't find them so much. And there's the kettle down there.
Oh, really?
The Victorian cast iron kettle.
Oh my God!
So that either goes on over the fire when we're having stuff outside, or
bit of a traveller's kettle, though they call that, with a big iron rod that's come out. Is that what?
That's it. Yeah, I can't remember what the name of the rods which you use. There is a specific name of the rods which your mum told me.
Oh God, yes. And the tilly lamps hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah, both of them work.
Both of them work. Never touched the mantle after they'd been.
Nope.
They just turned the dust.
Built of silk, and then you burn them off. That was my granddad, so I just put that up there because it's a really useful thing. But he used to have that in his shed when he used to do motorcycles, so it gives you some cross-referencing for all the old plugs. That thing next to it though, if the camera can pick it up, that's a lubrication chart for that Massey which we got here. That would have been up in the workshop back in the 60s when the tractor was actually, current and being serviced in the workshop. But that's quite rare. I've got 135 ones as well.
Right, let's get on to your last bit on this video. On this video, so we walk round. Let's walk round. Right, Rob. What can we say?
Right.
Now, tell me about it.
This is a 1926 Hillman. It's a Hillman 14 car-derived pickup. As you can see from the side of it, the front section.
Please stand in front of it. Be very proud of your own kit.
You can see how big it is there.
I didn't want to say.
No, this is it's 1926 Hillman 14. So the front section is based on a car up to about here. So you've got the windscreen. From back here is custom built body. So this section here is custom built. The dash is car. And the steering wheel, but as you come back, it's then goes into the pickup bit at the back.
Oh, pickups! We all like pickups these days,
don't
we?
It looks slightly different. So you get the old car, but you get something different.
Yeah.
There is none in existence. This is it.
Really?
I do like my things which are a bit rare and obscure.
Yeah.
As I was told, they did sell the chassis and engine as an option, and then you could build your own body onto it, which is what this is replicating.
Well, basically what they're doing now today, you buy a lorry base, don't you, chassis wise, and you either put a tipper on the back of it or a solid body or something like that.
Yeah, so if you look at the old adverts, they had like the saloon back, the sport back, and the one with the 2 seats and the dicky.
Or the flatbed or something like that.
You get all different sort of shapes of the car, and then they did it as a chassis cab, or chassis with the front section, and the rest of it you built to suit.
It reminds me of like Captain Jones out of the Dad's Army, sort of the front of it, you know, where it's all crammed in the front in a wooden box, wasn't they, sort of thing,
Yeah. And so it's nice. I mean, it's lovely.
Let's have a look inside it. Can we open the door, Rob? Oh, look at that. There. Look at the dashboard. After the camera picked up. Give it a second. There you go. That's all there. Now that's a weird sort of setup there. What's that?
So that's the gears. So a lot of vehicles are like that in the day. Why they never put the gear selector in the top of the gearbox and in the middle of the cab?
Yeah.
And they put it over to the right hand side, which makes getting into it rather hard. You've got the gear selectors on the right hand side, the handbrakes on the right hand side as well down there.
God, I hate new vans. I think it's Peugeot vans. They've got the handbrake, and you always, as you slide out the vehicle, you always end up with that sticking somewhere you don't want.
They had them on the right hand side, didn't they? For some reason. Yeah.
Oh, and the amount of times when I used to drive one, it used to leave me walking a bit strange afterwards.
Yeah, a bit intrusive.
Yeah. But again, did you restore it, or was it like
this one I bought, but I bought it as a part finished project.
Yeah.
So I've been doing work to it, but yeah, I mean,
mate, you should be so proud of it. So proud of it because it's such a. I mean, we're
very lucky for him to, I'll be eternally grateful to him for letting me buy this.
We're seeing them all in the shed now. I mean, perhaps one day we can come back and see them. You've got a lovely field out the back here. And we spoke about already, seeing these drive around the field with a drone going above it. It just makes such a lovely video, Rob. And so Hillman, one of the first Hillmans of it, hand start.
You can hand start it, but it's got electric start.
It has got electric start as well, is it?
Push the button on there. It's magneto, so it doesn't have a coil. Like a lot of modern cars and the Jeep has. So it's a magneto on the side of the engine. 12 volt electrics, positive earth, so it's all back to front. It's a headbender when you're trying to work things out. But that's it.
So I've got a question I was going to ask you then. Maintenance wise now, obviously, does it take a lot of maintenance?
Really, I mean, engine oil.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a dipstick. It has a float, and this is a bit of a thing which is particular to these sort of older cars. But it has a float in the sump and a gauge which sticks out the side, which then reads on a sort of gauge frame down on the side of the engine. So
can we lift up the bonnet and look at the engine? Yeah.
That's bit of it's on the other side.
You
see, and this is the inlet manifold and exhaust manifold on this side.
Oh my God.
So there she is.
Flatted.
Yeah, so it's a 2 litre side valve petrol engine.
Hillman on the back. Yeah.
Yes, it's Hillman engine, Hillman carburettor. That's the carb. This is your exhaust manifold going off and down. Doesn't have a water pump, so it's what's called a thermosiphon cooling system, which relies on the hot water rising out the top of the engine, being cooled as it goes down through the radiator and returning through the bottom hose. Literally, the gravity change in hot water is lighter than cold water, effectively, less dense. So it rises up and it naturally just convects all the way around, and that's how this is cooled. So
and never give you any grief?
Nope.
No?
No, it absolutely starts and runs fine.
So tell me what this thing is on the front here. What's that bit?
Right, so this is another thing which is for early cars. This is called an auto-vac. And because you didn't have things like fuel pumps so much, and they didn't use that kind of technology, what they actually used is this as an auto-vac. So it has a pipe which comes from it, and it goes down into the back of the carburettor and the manifold here.
Which draws a vacuum.
That's it, draws a vacuum, and that vacuum, there's a big float inside here, so it almost replicates the float chamber here. Draws the fuel up from the fuel tank with the vacuum, fills this up, and then it gravity feeds down this one into the carburettor.
So does the float lift up and turn the vacuum off or something to
Vacuum's
stop?
always there.
It's always there.
The float is, the float just stops the flow of fuel coming in through the. It's like a giant-sized version of the float chamber on the carb.
Fantastic.
And so it's like a little, and then everything runs gravity-wise from there. So it's I mean, if it's totally dry, you have to wait a while for it to pick up. And usually just take off the top of this is what I do, take off the top of the float chamber off the carb here, fill it with petrol, fire the engine, and within about 2 times or 3 times you've done that, it will have filled this up and drawn up from the fuel tank, and off it'll go.
Now, obviously you've got a few vehicles here that need spark plugs, magnetos, that sort of thing. Spark plugs wise, can you use modern spark plugs, or do you have to get...
You can. Most of them cross-reference over. The only thing I've ever found with modern spark plugs is sometimes they don't like the cooler running temperatures, and it's sometimes not the kerosene when you're burning kerosene, because they can oil up. And the old plugs seem to cope better with the plug getting wet and more carbon on it, because carbon's is conductive. And then the modern ones, the spark seems to track, and you end up with misfires. But most of the time, if you know what you're doing with the heat range on the spark plugs, then you can select the right one of the modern equivalent.
Well, Rob, this video is getting a bit longer now, so I'm afraid we're going to have to cut this one short. But for number 1 shed, I appreciate your time and energy, giving me your views and showing me them. Anyway, again, like I said, give the video a thumbs up. It'll help the channel out, no harm at all. And if you haven't already, think about subscribing. Doesn't cost you a penny. See you again. Cheerio for now. Well, Rob, what we got going now? We're going to move your Hillman round now, aren't we?
Yeah. So I got the so this is 1926 Hillman Hillman 14 pickup. So it's based on a Hillman 14 car, and back in the day you could buy all the different saloons, the sports tourers, and all the different bodies on this. Well, this. Is a car effectively derived pickup, so you could buy them as a chassis cab.
We've had a look at it in the barn, but we've got it in the open air now, haven't we? And we can see it a little bit better. And as I think I've said in the past, it's sort of like, I mean, you've got a pickup, haven't you?
Yeah.
Everyone seems to have pickups these days, and you know, you seem to have got, 100 years ago when this was made, and now we're going back. We're going forward, but we're going backwards again, aren't we?
It's just a small delivery. A farm might have had it to deliver produce out to shops, that kind of thing.
I think it's hilarious when you think about everyone drives these pickups now, and there's you got one that was produced 100 years ago.
It's nearly 100 years old, Or by a couple of years, it's 100 years old. But,
right, enough of me gabbing on. You go and do the business.
We're starting up and get on.
Now, because the handbrake's on the wrong side and the gear stick on the ring, it's easy to get in this side, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Hello, you got your neighbour.
It's just there's a big plane coming out. It's just taking off from around there.
Oh yeah.
Ready, dude?
Lovely, isn't it? Same again, Rob.
You want to take it out, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, there you go, another one of Rob's toys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I do appreciate you coming along with me on my journeys, and I've said it before, I know I'm going to say it again, but like and subscribe, it doesn't cost you a penny on either of them, and it does the channel a world of good. Anyway, thank you to Rob again for showing me his equipment, and we got more. Don't forget, keep watching. Cheers for now.